Hi there, guys. This is the video for the February 2013 board meeting. This is a sort of abridged time frame because we've gone to the second Monday instead of the third Monday, so it's only been a few weeks since our last meeting, but of course lots has gone on. So I want to share with you a little bit about what's been going on and then talk a little bit about the upcoming agenda. During this past several weeks, we've been looking at all of our strategic objectives and all of our pillars of accomplishing our mission, all of our program areas. And a little bit has been happening in just about every area, and in some areas a whole ton has been happening. In the area of engaging partners, really two things going on. One is that we're having individual conversations with potential individual partners for our big scaling up and moving forward with our mission. And secondly, we're planning in the next week or so to begin engaging conversation about doing some of the people that we have already spoken with individually, bringing them together to start talking about really defining what partnership can look like when it is a stone soup sort of partnership, and not the silent financial partnership that we so frequently see. So before we can go out and seek partners, to really start to define what would that partnership look like, we thought that it would be fun to start engaging more people in a conversation together about that. So we've had several individual sleuthing conversations. It'll be fun to bring those people together and to start saying, okay, let's brainstorm a little bit, sort of do a little bit of R&D in that area. With those folks about what would it look like if a partnership really looked like a stone soup partnership rather than that financial mechanism. So we're planning on reaching out to folks in the next couple of weeks and hopefully setting something up for several weeks from now to have at least start those conversations. In our second strategic objective, visibility and credibility, a couple things going on. There is a follow-up to our branding and messaging meetings. Dave Svet and Zach Breaker and now Erica Mills are going to be joining us at the end of February. That is on the calendar, and I hope that you guys will be able to join us. It is the 22nd, and as many board members as can be present would be fabulous, because we're all part of just exploring how do we do this thing, how do we talk about what we're doing. That's the first piece. The second piece is that I have submitted potential blog posts to several major organizations about the work that we're doing as a board to open up everything and be public about it. I've had several of those rejected. One has said that they'd love to know what's going on as we look 6 months forward, looking back at what we have learned. But again, it brings up the issue that if you guys know folks who are interested in just sharing what we're doing, talking about what we're doing, whether it is through blogs, whether it is through some of the major news outlets, Huffington Post, etc., start making those connections, because I think the more people that know that it's possible to have all of your meetings and all of your engagement happening live with participation, the more we can spread this thing. And that's the whole reason that we're doing it, is to both explore and to spread what's possible. So that's from the visibility standpoint. The stabilizing and enhancing our current efforts has been a big piece of what we have been focusing on for the past several weeks. You guys know that we did a beginning of an abridged asset-based resource development plan, and we've been really working on the results of that plan and starting to implement and put things into place. You will be getting attached to the information for this meeting a short video that summarizes our plan so far and puts it into context of our strategic objectives. So you'll be getting that. You'll be able to see an abridged version of what we did with the plan. You don't have to watch the entire 3-4 hours. We'd love you to, but you don't have to. In the area of workshops, we're going to be doing a live workshop here in Tucson And I started doing a webinar series for NTEN on building community through Twitter chats. And I'm doing a webinar in March for GrantStation. And that will be on sustainability. The other thing that has happened in this area of developing our resources is to start engaging our grads in potentially teaching on behalf of creating the future. And as you'll see in the resource development video, when we talk about developing assets that you already have, it's a very towards accomplishing a mission. It is a very different conversation than developing money. Developing money is just about how do we get money, and developing assets is about nurturing those assets and making those assets stronger. And so as we start to look at our graduate community teaching on behalf of creating the future, that nurtures them and obviously accomplishes our mission. So that's what's going on in the area of our 3 strategic objectives: our objective to engage partners, to increase visibility and credibility, and to stabilize and enhance our current efforts. As regards the pillars of our mission, our program areas, with the exception of some of the concurrent R&D that happens to be going on through other efforts, the R&D that will come out of the conversations with funders about what partnering can look like. That's definitely part of the philanthropy R&D. Some of the others, there's not been a concerted effort in the past several weeks in terms of just focusing on R&D. A lot of effort has been placed on education. And in addition to everything that I mentioned regarding the workshops and our faculty, our grads, one of the other conversations that began was, how do we teach our immersion course online? And that is turning into a whole nother conversation that we have scheduled for the first or second week in March, actually. I think it's the second week, that will begin to deconstruct the immersion class in the way that we teach deconstructing it. And we'll again do that live online so that everybody can participate and see it. But we will deconstruct the immersion class and see how we can teach the pieces of that in different ways. So we're just really excited about that. And that again came out of engaging that conversation with people who've been thinking about taking the immersion class, and with folks in the Facebook group for consultants saying, okay, do you think we could actually teach a full week of immersion online, and what could it look like if we stopped thinking about taking our in real life class and making it online, and instead started to ask a different set of questions? And that's what we're going to be doing by deconstructing the immersion class, which is really exciting. As far as our demonstration work, again, mostly the messaging session that's going to happen in a couple of weeks on the 22nd of February. Obviously our board meeting, and more resource development work that we're going to be doing online. So in terms of demonstration, we are a living demonstration at this point, which is very fun. It's actually, we're enjoying it an awful lot and learning a ton from it. The last piece is our pillar of convening and engaging. And what's been happening both in the Facebook group and with the NPCons chat has really been very invigorating. The folks that are moderating the Facebook group, Mark Pittman and Bob Rowell, are just so embodying what creating the future is all about in the way that they're moderating that group. And the group is so responding. They're feeling very nurtured. I feel very nurtured when I'm in that group, and it's entirely because of these 2 amazing men. So if you guys are watching, I want to thank you, but I really do want to give credit to you guys, to the board. I want to give credit to these guys and honor what they're doing, because they're really creating an amazing community that's talking about these really big issues, and all around, all in a Facebook group for consultants. The other interesting thing that's happening out of the NPCons group, I think I may have mentioned that the NPCons chat is now being facilitated by Kevin Monroe, Nancy Iannone, and Jane Garthson. And they are handing off who's doing it which month, and they're working together on pulling the topics together. The N10 webinar that I have been doing is on building community through Twitter chats. And we're hoping that some of the folks through there can add to the facilitation, certainly of the NPCons group. But we're also finding that through just doing the webinar, they're getting interested in the NPCons group. So again, everything that we're doing is feeding each other, which is very cool, and it's the way that we want it to be. So that's what's been going on for the past several weeks in the 4 areas of our mission and the 3 areas of our strategic objectives. And next up is what's on the agenda. Coming out of last month's agenda, there are 2 items that you guys said that you wanted to continue talking about or even start talking about. The first one was the fact that Dimitri and I did put together, with assistance and participation from folks watching online, an abridged asset-based resource development plan. As I mentioned in the report, you'll be getting a video that summarizes that. That's sort of an executive summary of that plan. And what you guys had talked about at the last meeting was discussing that resource development plan at our upcoming board meeting in February. And very specifically, what we figured is it opens up questions that you guys can ask of us. So we can just make it an open session of asking questions about the plan and where it's going and what its intent is after you see, like I said, this short video. The other thing that we looked at in terms of the continuing our conversation about orientation to the board. At our last meeting, the board talked a lot about what do you wish you knew, what had you wished you had known when you first joined the board, so that we can build that into an ongoing program. It doesn't have to be an orientation program. I loved the phrase that somebody used, that it seems like we're creating a non-orientation program for folks who are trying not to be a board. So what does it look like again, and what would the content be? You guys raised so many questions, and please read the minutes. The minutes are going to be the key to this next discussion. So print them out, read them, because you guys asked a ton of questions about what you would want to know as you are joining the board, what you even want to know now. And what it appeared made sense in looking at how the discussion was going, again, to have a non-orientation program, is to structure our board meetings and the reports that you get from Dimitri and me as your staff, to structure them around what you want to know. So frequently boards do an orientation, they do an education program, but our ongoing meetings can incorporate a lot of what you guys said you wanted to know on an ongoing basis, so that you're getting that all the time, so that it's not once a year. So things like, what does our network look like, and what does it mean to our board members? What level of authority does the board have? What is the board ultimately responsible for? Areas of financial sustainability, the succession planning for Hildy and Dimitri, us, and for the board. What kind of work are we getting involved in over the next 12 months? The very, very big question of what does it mean to be involved in creating a movement rather than building an organization? Understanding what it means for the board to be a learning laboratory, living and breathing. So as much of that as we can incorporate into, how do we incorporate that into our board meetings all the time, rather than it having to be a special education program that lists these 3 things, again, becoming a way of being. So those are really the 2 agenda items for this coming session. One is going to be the resource development plan, going over that, and the second will be continuing our conversation about board orientation, focused on it not being orientation, but it just being how the board reinforces that at every meeting. So that's it for February, for the report and for the agenda, and I'm looking really forward to this meeting. We'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.